IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners. Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. Before we begin, we would like to thank some of our very special listeners who've reached out to us and given us really positive feedback. A big thanks to the Riding Monk, Raj and Sandeep.
Thank you so much, guys, for leaving some feedback and some glowing reviews on iTunes. Also, a quick shout out to Piyush Diwan and his book, The Footprints of Shadows. It's an anthology of 14 short travel stories, and I would highly recommend you to go check it out. A link will be in the show notes section.
As for today's episode, we have an amazing woman with us who has been traveling in and around India and the world with her toddler. She calls herself the backpacking mom. So we would love to welcome Deenaz Raisinghani to know about how she travels with her little kiddo, Ariana.
Yeah, let's get on with the episode now. So with that introduction, I'd like to welcome Deenaz Raisinghani, a backpacking Indian mom who also happens to blog under the name backpackindianmama.com, right, Deenaz?
That's correct. Hi, guys.
Hi, Deenaz.
Welcome to the Musafir Stories.
Super mom, welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I think we should have just said that. Welcome the super mom to the Musafir Stories and get on with that. But yeah, Deenaz, tell us a little bit more about you because the introduction I gave is pretty concise. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, about your beginnings with travel, with blogging, and the gradual transition to traveling as a mom with a kid, right? So tell us about this journey.
Yeah, sure. I'm from Assam. And basically, I left home to study in Pune after I passed 12th. And since then, I've been venturing everywhere, small places in and around Maharashtra. Soon after, I met an army officer who I later married. And we went out on a lot of these trips together in and around Maharashtra. And after we married, we traveled a lot, in fact, within India and outside India. And our style of travel was basically budget traveling. And he sort of got me into the concept of backpacking, basically wearing your backpack and going everywhere. And we also got into a community known as the Hosteling International Community soon after we got married. So this is a community, the HI community is a group of hostels all over the world.
Sure.
And they are youth hostels, and you get a membership that affiliates you with every hostel that this community is associated with. After I graduated, I did my master's. That's when I conceived my child. And after my master's and everything, when I was giving time to the daughter, that's when my plan of traveling with the baby started. So basically, when I conceived her, she was in my womb. That's when I promised myself that I'll backpack to a European country by myself with her. So this is like a crazy plan because everyone was like, what are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, are your hormones getting to your head? Because you should think about buying a pram, buying a crib and all that stuff, and look at you. So I said, no, this is something that I really want to do because this is who I am. And we don't want our lifestyle to change just because we have a baby. So when she turned 16 months old, we took off on a 7-country tour across Europe. And from Germany, my husband went back basically from Berlin. That is when I started solo traveling with her. That was my first solo traveling international trip with her. And I kind of realized that I really enjoy it. So when I came back, I sort of started writing my blog about it because I had a lot of friends who used to encourage me and ask me, now we want tips. So where did you go? How did you manage with the child? So I thought I'll just put it on social media. And that's when I got a lot of interest from other parents as well. That led to the blog. That also led to a travel column that Indian Express asked me to write for them. So that is how the entire, travel writing bug actually started.
Okay.
for me.
Brilliant. And I think it's almost sounds like out of a movie at places. You're a army
Really?
wife, you're a super mom, and you're a traveler, a backpacker, and you're going solo with your kid. Literally sounds like a plot from a movie. But yeah, we are grateful and really, really happy that we have you on board, and looking forward to talking more about how you've been going about this, because I mean, in reality, the people around me that I see, at least some of them get stressed out or anxious just by traveling, leave alone traveling with a kid, right? So I think it's brilliant what you're doing, and we'd definitely like to find out more and share a few tricks and hacks as to how you've been doing this successfully, right? And what we thought we'll do is pick up one of your trips closer to home, given that the Musafir Stories, the focus is usually to travel within India, right? So we thought we'll pick up a trip closer to home you did, and discuss a little bit more about the whole process of preparation and traveling with a kid, and enjoying at the same time enjoying that whole trip, right? So that's what we thought we'll do. And with that thought in mind, what trip or what itinerary do you want to share with us today?
Sure. So today we're going to talk about a trip to this very beautiful valley in India called the Parvati Valley. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to take you on a journey across a few places in Parvati Valley that we did with our child. So basically this happened last year, and it was in the month of June. So I guess we should talk about that.
Wonderful.
Brilliant.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Okay, and how long of a trip was this?
So we did this trip for around 10 days, and we left from Ambala, and we came back to Ambala again. So all in all, it was about 10 days.
Okay, so this was a 10-day itinerary, and you said you traveled in the month of June. So is that a good time to travel, given that you're traveling to the northern part of India amongst the mountains?
Yes, anywhere from I'd say October or February to June is like a better period to travel, because right after that the monsoon season begins in India, which is also a very bad season to travel in the mountains because of landslides and torrential rains. So post July, I would say, like, do not travel to that area. But starting February to June, of course, it's the most beautiful period to go.
Wonderful. And just tell us, just getting on this journey of getting a little gyan from you in terms of how one can travel with the baby, right? Like, what are the things you do, say, differently, or just to be well prepared, right? To start with to travel with the baby, just to avoid any unwanted surprises. Any special preparation that you take care of?
Yeah, and also like what goes into the backpack. With respect to the baby packing.
Yeah, so there are like 3 things that I often tell moms to take care of during traveling. So basically, we take care of the kids' eating, sleeping, and pooping schedule. So once these 3 things are basically taken care of, in the sense that you know your cues for your kid telling you when they're hungry, they're sleepy, or they want to poop. So these worries will reduce a lot once you take care of these 3 cues. Apart from that, it's very important to travel as light as possible, especially when you're backpacking, and also buy very essential minimal things like travel handy packing cubes, for example, that go into a backpack, a portable baby carrier, which was actually a lifesaver for us when we were traveling in the mountains, because obviously she wasn't able to walk in that hilly terrain. So we carried a baby carrier with us, so she was like on our backs most of the time. Apart from that, we carry emergency medication, because in situations like these where there is no phone connectivity or a medical shop nearby, it's very essential to carry any sort of emergency medication. Apart from that, I think basic snacks, because we were very sure that she would get access to fresh milk and fresh food at the location. And so that is why we sort of picked up the stays that I'm going to talk to you about. Apart from that, we didn't really fuss too much about carrying everything possible, and probably like a pressure cooker and khichdi and all that stuff. We didn't do all that because it's not necessary.
Hey, we are Indians. I wouldn't be surprised if we carry all of that.
Yeah, because I get like so many queries. Like, what did you feed her? Should I take a pressure cooker? I said, why would you take a pressure cooker on a backpacking trip?
I would love to see the size of that backpack.
Exactly. So anyway, because we were traveling by car, we also had a small carton with us that was filled with snacks and any like knickknacks and stuff like that for her that she would munch on the way. So this was like a road trip, which is why it was easier for us to handle the child, because we had access to other keeping more luggage. But like primarily we just packed like one backpack each for the both of us and one baby bag. That's about it.
Okay, and how old was she that time?
Yeah, let's actually to give a shout out to baby Ariana, right? That's her name also.
Yes.
Yes.
How old is baby Ariana?
At that time, she's almost 4 now, so she was 3.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Brilliant. And yeah, thank you for these handy tips. Getting back to the itinerary, right? You said you started off from Ambala. Can you briefly draw out the Parvati Valley for us in terms of where or which state it covers mostly?
Yeah, sure. So Parvati Valley is based in the state of Himachal Pradesh, and basically the valley extends eastwards from where the river Parvati and the river Bias they meet.
Sure.
So this is spread across a couple of villages on the way to Manali. So you can there's a bunch of villages which are together called Parvati Valley because the Parvati river runs through it. So you can choose to stop at any of the villages, or if you're not aware of the valley, you'll probably just cross it and go ahead to Manali. But it's a very, very beautiful place to see, and it's not. Some of the villages are not very, very crowded now, so it's a great time to visit with or without a kid or anything, because they give you breathtaking views of the Himalayan peaks and everything. So it's a journey there is totally worth it. We were also we had also heard a lot about the Parvati Valley earlier, but we could never go there before we had a kid. So after we had the child, we were like, let's just do it. And let's not obviously try to have go on a hippie trail or anything like that. But let's just go on a very a trekking trail with the child. So so I'll draw the route for you. We started from Ambala, and then we basically went by road to this place called Jari, which is a small town in Parvati Valley, where we stayed. And from there, we carried on to the Tosh Valley, which is very famous. I mean, almost everyone knows about the Tosh Valley in Parvati Valley. From there, we came back to Kasol, and which is also famous as the hippie town of India. And then from Kasol, we did day treks to Chalal and nearby areas. And then we were in Kasol for a few days, and then we fell back to Ambala.
Wonderful.
After that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it is that stretch, right, that the Parvati river passes through, and the valley it forms, and a bunch of villages along the way, like you mentioned, Jari, Kasol, Malana, Manikaran, Tosh, all of those. I think that's what collectively are referred to as the Parvati Valley. And as you rightly mentioned, some great views of the mountains, the beautiful cold and gushing rivers, the Parvati River, the green pines, conifers, all of them, and some hot springs too, to just add them in there, right? So it's really nature's bounty, I would say, and some great views to be enjoyed. Now tell us, what you said Jari was your first stop, right? So what was planned while you were stopping at Jari? What was on the itinerary, and what was planned for this trip?
Yeah, sure. So the first stop we stayed in Jari. Jari, why? Because it has the homestay that we found on the internet, called the Parvati River Cottage, which was based in a village called Baladi, which is basically on the other side of the Parvati River, but it is accessible only through trekking from Jari. So basically, it's a downhill trek once you reach the town of Jari. And the only landmark that we were told by the owners of the homestay were that there's one liquor shop in Jari town. You have to find that liquor shop, and once you find it, there's a downhill trek. So take your and we'll send someone there. So to help you with the luggage, but you guys will have to trek. So we said we have a baby, with us and everything. So they were like, why do you want to come? So that was their question. But then we kind of asked them how difficult is the trek and everything. So they were like, it's just 700, 800 meters. And if you're avid trekkers, then there shouldn't be a problem for you. And we'll send someone along. So we parked our car in Jari itself at one of the parking lots. And a guy from the homestay came. His name was Mahin. And so basically this homestay is owned by two guys from Gurgaon named Prakul and Anshul. And it basically spreads only by, like, it's run only through word of mouth. They don't do a lot of publicity on social media and all that. I think they want to kind of keep it that way. So we got in touch with them only through reviews. We didn't really like see a website or anything. And once we did, they sort of have these bunch of guys who are running the homestay from all across India. So one of these guys came and they offered to take our luggage through a trolley across the river, which is called a span. Basically, they just dump your luggage into the trolley because there's a way, that's the only way it'll reach across the river. You can't carry those heavy backpacks on the trek. So they sent the trolley across with our luggage, and then they let us trek along, behind him. So my husband wore my daughter behind on the baby carrier, and I followed with a little bit of luggage and with the guy like leading us. So it was like a downhill trek right up to the base of the river, and it was connected by a bridge. The cottage was connected by a bridge, through the river, across the river. So we had to cross the bridge, and then we literally, the homestay was located on the river. It's not even by the river. It was like on the river. Like we were, the terrace and everything was like it was covered by water, Parvati River. So when we saw that, we were like, oh my God, is this where we're going to stay? Because it looks spectacular. And it was a little crazy also because you literally had to roll down a mountain to reach it. But then we wanted to cut away from everything, and we wanted to make Ariana also experience like a little offbeat destination. So we came there. We stayed with those guys for a couple of days. And from there, we took off on a day trip to Tosh Valley. Tosh is around 22 kilometers from Jari, and we drove there by road. Now, the road up till Basheni to Tosh is pretty good. I mean, you'll see, you'll be enchanted with the views on either side and the river Parvati flowing, as you go along. But after Basheni, so there are buses also that go up to Basheni. But after that, the road literally turns into no road at all because it's so bad. It's full of pebbles and rocks. And we took a car there. It's possible to take cars and taxis, but the road is really broken. So, which is also a good advice to kind of, not go in the monsoon months at all to Tosh Valley, because your car will invariably get stuck or anything, or you'll fall into trouble if you try to come back the same day. So we finally reached Tosh, and Tosh was a small, now a very big hamlet in the valley, and it's again kind of an Israeli infested village. Apart from the actual commercial vibe of it, the views from Tosh are really breathtaking. You can see the entire Parvati Valley from there. So we walked up those lanes and everything. Our daughter was walking along because those were level grounds once we reached the village. And the people are welcoming, I think, there because they know about tourism. They want tourism that side. The only downside was that Tosh now has become very full of litter, and it's very, very commercial. So we didn't like that part of it. But just to catch in the views, we went to this cafe called Pinky Didi's Cafe, which is right at the end of the valley, the village. And from there one can see gorgeous 360-degree views of the valley. And you can just sit down with a green chai or whatever and then just take in views. So that's what we did for a long, long time. We just sat there, and we spent a good 2 or 3 hours. And after that, we walked around the village a little bit. And by that time, it was evening time. It was time to return to Jari because otherwise it would get really late. So we came back the same day.
Yeah. And just to touch upon Tosh, right? The village, as you rightly mentioned, it has in the recent years become a lot more commercial, and I guess byproduct of that is the litter and the overcrowding that you might have seen. So that's one of the downsides. But yeah, it's also known for the wonderful views and the beautiful cafes there, right? Because I think one of our previous guests also was going gaga over some of the cafes that she saw there, and yeah, no surprises, the Israeli population there also. Apparently, this falls on the hummus trail, as they call it. A lot of the Israelis that do the hummus trail, starting right from the Himalayas, passing through all of these, through Goa and down south, all the way till I think Tamil Nadu, Kerala, all of that. So, yeah, I'm glad that you got to enjoy some of the wonderful views from the cafes and the nice hippie town kind of vibe also, right?
Yes.
In these villages, even though I think now it's a little overdone, but it's still very different from usually the places we as tourists or travelers are going from. So that's great. Now you're back to Jari village on the same day, you said, right?
Yes, that's correct. So we came back to Jari, and the next day we went on like a village hike in Jari itself. So one of the people from the homestay is called Ruchit. He took us on a village walk to this village called Baladhi, which is actually where the homestay is situated. And it has a very small, bunch, very cute looking village with pristine views of the valley and everything. You have to hike to reach every house. It has different kinds of terrain. So again, we were wearing the baby when we went. She was walking in several stretches, but then we preferred to keep her on us because she was just 3 at that time. And also we stopped by local houses. So basically we saw the way that they were farming, cultivation. They had apple orchards and everything. Apart from that, they always had however the good or bad the financial situation of the house, they would always have an organic garden and a cow or a goat or sheep or something that's tied to their house. So that is something that they all have.
Okay.
Apart from that, we spotted a lot of herbs. There was cultivation of marijuana, of course, which we saw in plenty.
Right.
And some of the freshest mint leaves, huge mint leaves that we've never seen before in markets anywhere. The entire air was smelling of pudina. It was so fresh. And what can I tell you? That was one of the best, I think, times evenings that we spent walking in Jari village.
And how's the baby responding so far? Is she happy with the trip? And
I mean, yeah, but sometimes babies tend to get cranky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this happened a couple of days after all this happened. So basically we did Tosh and then we did the village walk and everything. The third day she fell a little sick. So basically because of the change in temperature and everything, she picked up a mild fever, which is why we also kept a buffer day. We always keep a buffer days for her.
Okay.
So in case something happens to her or one of us, we can rest. So originally the plan was to go to Manali the same day, but we stayed back because we wanted her to recover.
Okay.
So that is what we did. And the next day, she was absolutely fine because she was well rested. She had the guys made a lot of hot soup for her.
Oh, nice.
And there were 2 dogs over there, and my daughter's very fond of dogs. So she was feeding the mountain dogs and everything. And she had a lot of fun. The next day we went to Manali from there.
Okay, wonderful. So this is after the trip to Baladhi village, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay,
Baladhi.
Cool. Now, when were you back from Manali, Deenaz?
So we were just basically there because we hadn't taken Haryana there. So we went to Manali. We spent a couple of days, and we basically just spent it around on Manali and came back.
Okay.
And we were more interested in the last leg of the journey, which was basically camping with Haryana. It was our first camping experience in Kasol. So again, with the same tour operator, the same guys run a bunch of properties across Parvati Valley.
Okay.
One of them is the Parvati Woods Cottage and the Parvati Woods Camp, around 2 or 3 kilometers away from Kasol town. So that's where we reached from Manali. And we camped there. They have they have basic tents, but they're pretty huge. They have common toilets and everything, but everything is very clean. It's hygienic. There's a small cafe in the camp itself. So we had access to food and everything for the child, but we also could carry the car up till there, which was why we had also picked up some essentials from Manali itself, restocked for the child. So we camped with her, and it was a great experience. It was pretty cold at night, but then we had bonfires and everything going on, and there was a dog there in the camp as well. So my daughter was very, very happy again. Yeah, so by this time she had recovered. She was pretty happy with the entire first camping experience for her at 3 years. So she was jumping with joy when she saw like she was going to sleep in a under a tent.
Oh, nice.
And then, did you guys also spend some time in Kasol? Because you said this is a little, perhaps on the peripheries of Kasol, right? So did you spend time in the town of Kasol as well?
Yeah, but very, very little time, to be very honest, because we wanted to again skip like the tourist circuit, and obviously, I mean, because there's a lot of smoke and everything going on, so with the baby, we wanted to avoid like the cafes that had a lot of smoke around it. But then we did go. We ate at a bunch of places there, like very good places for lunch and everything. Also, we trekked up to Kasol via this village called Chalal.
Okay.
So what we did was one morning we took off from the camp itself, and then we crossed the river to go up to this hamlet called Chalal through another village called Katagla. So all this was via a trek route, and it's not very, very difficult to trek up there. If you are like a hands-on trekker, you have good shoes and everything, and it's good season, it's like wise to go on that trek. You should not miss it because it's very, very pristine and very, very pretty. It's what Kasol used to be many years earlier. It has a lot of homestays there, great cafes and food and everything. But once you cross that, also you have lovely views of the river and the valley. So you can just like park yourself there. So that's where we went basically to spend the day. We stopped by the river. We spent a lot of time with Ariana, and then we ate lunch at a cafe in Chalal itself.
Okay, wonderful.
So after that, we trekked up again, and that's how we reached Kasol town basically.
On your way back?
We walked there. Yeah, on our way back. And once we reached Kasol, we spent like the evening there, ate there and everything. Checked out the market a little bit, but then because we'd been to Manali, we just did not want to even look at like the market there. So so we just came back from there the same day itself. So that was like a small little time in Kasol town.
Okay, cool. And then did you have like more little day trips planned ahead as well, or was Chalal one of them?
Chalal was one of them. We just went to these many because although you can do like for other tourists, that's what I can tell you. There's a lot of other treks like Khir Ganga and Pin Parvati Pass and everything that they can do from there. So these are like the kind of treks that you can do. But because we had a child also, we didn't want to do like the more like the heavier treks which involved like camping at night and that.
Right, the multi-day
we also
treks,
did.
Right?
Yeah. The multi-day treks, exactly. But we also did not go to Malana because Malana again I think was like a full day trek, and with such a small child we didn't want to go up there.
As you rightly mentioned, I think Kasol is kind of one of the center points, right, to stay and do a lot of day treks, and as well as some of the longer treks also. Malana, one of them. There's also treks to Khir Ganga, and then Grahan village also, I think, right, is one of them.
Grahan, yes,
so all of
exactly,
these are,
that's right.
day treks that one can engage in, and each one of them has like its own little bit of history, culture, or a little bit of trivia that each has associated to it. For example, Malana, you perhaps know, right, that it's considered to be one of the Aryan villages that's made up of people who call themselves descendants of Alexander the Great, etc.
Absolutely, yes.
It's very intriguing in some instances, and I think it just adds to the whole romance around that Parvati Valley stretch, right? Different, you come across different kinds of people, different cultures, etc. You also mentioned earlier on while you were staying in Jari village that you had a chance to interact with some of the people there, the locals, and what kind of say culture or their architecture or little things like that did you come across, Deenaz?
So basically they're very like humble people, sweet people, and they basically get their earnings from the production of hashish. They do a lot of cultivation of apple orchards, and they have great like wooden houses that they've built. Apart from that, because the homestay that we were staying in was also owned by like a local Himachali from there itself.
Okay.
So he had leased this property to these guys. So he used to come and like see like who are the people that are coming and staying in his property and everything. I think they had like a lease thing going on, like a partnership thing going on. So this guy Ruchit from the homestay itself, he took us to meet like a lot of like these local people. We didn't eat at any of the places there, but then we did meet a lot of farmers. And apart from that, I think in the night, these two, my husband and Ruchit, they ventured out for some lugri, and which is like a local liquor there. And so he has this, like, my husband has this like passion for, like, finding out the local liquor in every like village that he goes to, like from Ladakh to Sikkim to other places, to Nagaland recently that we did. We always tried the local flavor of the liquor. So he went at like 9:30 to this villager's house, and I was like, just don't go, because everything gets shut at 8 p.m. and these are like lush, thick bushes and everything through which you are going. It's completely dark. But that guy was so sure. They were like, don't worry, we'll come back and all that. So they went carrying, like, they didn't even light a torch, because that guy was like, animals will spot you, so they will not light a torch. So they went walking, and then they had carried like a small broken distillery bottle and something like that. And then they knocked on like a small wooden door, and like a very small house, tiny house. And this couple, like this old lady came out, Himachali woman. And then, so they were like, lugri chahiye. And then they went outside, and the lady disappeared for 15 minutes. And they were wondering, like, why has she like, what is wrong with her? After 15 minutes, she came out with like a bottle of freshly brewed lugri, and which was given to them for 50 rupees only. And so these guys, like, that was like the big, catch that day. So they came back and they were like, pata hai, maine aaj Himachal se bhi lugri uthai, So yeah, so we had a lot of like fun meeting these guys also from the homestay. There were like a lot of guys running it as well. So they told us about why they had left their jobs in like Bombay, Bangalore. They quit everything, and then now they're like running this homestay because it gives them a lot of happiness, and they also getting to meet like new people every day. And it was also the first time they were like seeing a baby in their homestay. So yeah, they were very happy. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it looks like your husband has gotten into some adventure activity also while on this trip, right?
Oh, yeah, that reminds me. Were there any particular activities done for the baby as well, or she was just enjoying?
Yeah, I mean, because at the camp that we were staying in, which was like on pretty flat land, the owner's daughter was also there. She was a little older than Ariana, but then because she was there, all of us had a lot of fun, together. So we went on like a mini trail around the river Parvati one day. And she went up to the base of the river, and then she touched the water.
Oh my God, huh?
Yeah, and then we also took her like to see like a trout farm, Himalayan trout. So she would actually see like a lot of fish together, which was like her first experience of seeing the fish.
Sure.
So many fish together. So that was like a good thing.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, that basically connected to nature. It's beautiful. I just had that thing about how do you inculcate the habit of a kid learning to travel at this young age, because a lot of time we end up seeing parents struggling to manage their kids even in the normal day.
Well, I think probably because we just started traveling with her since she was 3 months old. I think her first like experiences and like her entire sensory experience of seeing new destinations and going to new locations, taking a flight at such an early age made her, adapt. So we just started traveling because out of compulsion, because we were moving stations when she was 3 months. So we had to travel quite a long distance, and we also took her first flight at 3 months, post which we took a trip to Bhutan when she was 7 months old. And this we did consciously because we wanted to take her along. It was not like set in stone, because my husband was on a biking trip and I was like, I just want to come along, and this is not fair, I've had the baby, but I want to come. So he was like, if you want to come, just get a bunch of your friends and like see if they also want to come. So it was just like me, my friend, her husband, and Ariana. We went separately, and he was on his own motorbike.
Wonderful,
trip. So we traveled by road from Siliguri onwards to Bhutan, and that was her first like real international experience, so to speak, and also like a proper road journey across Bhutan. So I was seeing that she was not getting sick on the way. She used to sleep easily with more when she used to be in motion and everything, thankfully. So I like testing all these things as if to see if she had motion sickness or if she was getting sick with changes in temperature. But with each new journey we saw that she was adapting even more. And she had thankfully she has like a decent memory. So when she comes back from a trip, I get to hear of like her perspective on
Version.
of like a certain
Oh,
thing. So she'll remember like the
wonderful.
most like random thing, but she'll
No.
remember it. And then she'll come back and say, "हमने वो किया था ना, हम अभी भी वही करेंगे next time."
Oh, that is wonderful. She's indeed like a super baby. That's what
Yeah,
she is.
touch wood, touch wood. I mean, I don't know super baby or not, but then at least she's adjusting with us, and she.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that perhaps might be what it comes down to, right? Like conditioning them to traveling instead of
Pampering them and
pampering them and
keeping them in a shell.
yeah,
I feel,
if they're just used to say one kind of environment, then there's that high possibility or probability of them throwing up a tantrum when those conditions change. Now, if they're traveling and if they're used to changes, maybe they'll not throw it up. I'm just like putting this theory out there, but it might be one of the reasons, is what I think.
Yeah, you're right about that, because since she was very young, we've also exposed her to different styles of travel. So it's not necessary that we take both like budget and luxury trips when we can. We try to expose her to like different types of beds, also different types of kitchen experiences. So not basically getting used to the fact that the minute you land from an airport or a railway station, you'll be in a taxi all the time, you'll be taken to a hotel. That's not the way that we will want to make her grow up, at least. So that's how we also wanted her to expose her to a lot of hosteling. So we've stayed in hostels all over the world, and that's how she's also growing up. She's meeting other people, she's playing in these communal areas and everything. We cook in the kitchen for her, and we try as much to stay with local families when we're traveling. So we take up B&Bs rather than hotels, and that's how she's been exposed to a lot of like other ethnicities as well. So when she sees someone of a different like color, race, origin or anything, she's not like shocked or anything. She doesn't say uska baal yellow kyun hai, mera baal black kyun, like that sort of.
Yeah.
She does ask these questions, but she's not like averse to anything now. So she's accepting everything around her, which is, I think, a positive experience.
Absolutely. And did you ever faced any challenge with respect to Ariana during her travel trips?
Yes, I mean, of course, there are challenges with the baby. There will always be challenges. So we did face when we went on our extensive backpacking trip and we were walking across different countries in Europe. It was also a little hectic for her because she was 16 months old, and we did like 7 countries. And we were going from like place to place. We also took a ship in between. So in bits and pieces, I think she did throw tantrums in between just like any other baby, but nothing to place us on guard to completely give up travel. Also, like when I solo backpacked with her in Germany, I remember that I had not read the reviews of a place. So the accommodation was like not up to for safety standards for a baby. It was not that safe. And so this is another tip that I give all everybody who asks me to, as a solo parent, like how do you backpack? I'd say always read reviews of the accommodations that you're going to before you book the accommodation, especially if you're traveling alone with a child. And always have a plan B, like in case plan A fails, because you don't want your child to suffer because of you.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think those are some great points. And Deenaz, what about some of the misconceptions that parents tend to have about traveling with kids?
Well, the general misconception, I think, across India is that they tend to be very worried about how they'll take care of their children's food and every other thing that happens, like in case of an emergency. So I get a lot of these. And also traveling misconceptions. So basically they think that flying with a baby is just not possible. Or what if the baby doesn't let them enjoy at all during the trip? What if the baby gets sick, or what to feed them in certain places? So I always tell them that, see, there are kids that are living across the world. It's not only India that there are kids that have kids. So wherever kids live, that is where kids can go. So if your kid actually lives in Iceland, you can actually go to Iceland. So that's the kind of logic that I also have about traveling with children, and that's what I try to break as well. That it's not a myth that you shouldn't, it's very, very tough, or I can't I can't also take public transport with a child. How do I go to take a train in a foreign country? how do I take the subway line with her and everything. So these are like actual questions that I get from parents, and they ask me like, what did you feed her for all these days? I said she ate like local food also, because she was 16 months at that time, and she was eating solids, and so she like took to outside food as well. So another thing that I encourage parents is to let them try like other tastes as well besides only homemade food, because if you do that, then you're going to restrict the child and you're going to have a very tough time traveling yourself. You're going to have to cook all the time for the child. So to basically also develop their immunity, it's better that you encourage them to try different tastes. And once you ensure the hygiene, the water, etc. of places, and like boiled milk or something that you should give the kid. Apart from that, there's not really much that the kid needs to thrive on.
I think those are very valid points, and certainly points that parents with young kids can take note of, and I think engage in travel, because as we said, parents, and especially Indian parents for that matter, right, they tend to put off travel altogether until the kid grows up to a certain age. So I think by keeping these things in mind, it's certainly possible to travel along with a kid, and you just have to be better prepared, I think. So thank you so much for these wonderful points, Deenaz, and that was a great segue about talking about a few points that you face while traveling with kids. And now getting back to the itinerary as we close this up. So you were finishing up in Kasol. You did a couple of treks from there. Did you have anything more planned, or were you ready to head back to Ambala after this?
Well, no, because we'd already finished like Manali in between, and we had also gone to a village called Vashisht ahead of Manali, which is during our stay there. So basically, this was again like a day trip to this village, which was a little away from Manali town. And it has again a lot of like lovely cafes, very good views from the mountain cafes over there. So so that's what we did. We basically went there, went to Manali, came back, went to Kasol, camped, and I think that was enough for a trip to the
Sure.
So we went back to Ambala quietly after that.
Yeah. It's already quite an extensive trip, and kudos to you for having winged this brilliantly with baby Ariana, while also enjoying the literary nature's bounty, right? As we mentioned earlier on, with all these amalgamation of the different colors of the nature. So I think what made it even better for us was that you, being the super mom you managed to do all of this with baby Ariana. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and an eye-opener of sorts, also learning so much about how one can travel along with kids while enjoying the trip and not being stressed out about it or being anxious about the trip. Before we let you go, why don't you tell us your social media handles and where people can follow you, your blog and your social media handles?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Saif and Feza. It was really nice to talk to both of you and your audience about traveling with a baby. So basically, you can reach me at my on my blog, which is at www.backpackindianmama.com. Also, I am on Instagram at backpacking_Indian_mama. And I also have a Facebook page by the same name, Backpacking Indian Mama. So that's like across social, like the main social media handles, I guess, for now.
Okay, perfect. We will add all those links in our show notes section as well. And thank you so much. You have seriously, how Saif said, it's an eye-opener as well as it's a motivation to all the women and men out there, parents basically, that you can travel with your baby. So that's not going to stop you. Thank you so much, and happy traveling ahead. We would love to see more travel stories. Can't wait to see more travel stories. Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you, for having me on your show. And it was really nice to talk about it. And your questions are very, very leading, and it made me talk so much. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. We enjoyed it ourselves, Deenaz. Thank you so much, and a big hi and lots of love to baby Ariana.
I know.
Thank you so much. She says hi back.
Thank you. That was yet another great episode of the Musafir Stories. If you guys like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Audioboom, Savan, Pocket Casts, Castbox, Stitcher, or any other podcasting app available on iOS or Android. Please do leave us a review on iTunes. It goes a long way in the show's discoverability. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We go by the handle The Musafir Stories. Or, if it suits you, you could email us at themusafirstories@gmail.com or visit our website at www.themusafirstories.com for more information. All of these links will be made available in the show notes section of each episode. So here's to more traveling, sharing, and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, happy travels and goodbye.